Hello there, viewers. Today I've got Gideon with me, and your hair looks wonderful, by the way.
Thank you. I had prepared. Okay,
You hadn't prepared, yeah. I would do my hair, but yeah, it's there's not much there. So anyway, so today we're going to talk about British culture, and I did a podcast episode with Amy, the lovely Amy, giving her three positives and negatives of British culture. So I thought
you got the lovely Gideon.
You got the lovely Gideon, exactly.
Well, why do you only use lovely for females? Can't I be lovely too?
You are lovely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're extra lovely.
Okay, thank you.
So
Thank you.
I thought I would ask about your three positives and three negatives of British culture.
I came well prepared because I'm wearing my Union Jack boxer shorts today.
Are you now?
Shall I? No? Okay.
I want viewers to come back.
So. That's for your OnlyFans page, maybe.
Don't tell them about that.
Yeah.
So if you can maybe talk about maybe your first. Let's start off with the positives. I think it's probably a good thing to do, right?
Positives of British culture.
Yeah. Can you think of any?
Yeah, I can. Definitely can. I always think. And of course, there's always sort of a level of generalisation when you're talking about these things. Mm-hmm. I think I can do many exceptions about what I'm going to say, but I think British people are very sort of open-minded to sort of new cultures, new experiences, new foods, in particular, because I mean British cuisine, I mean lots of nice dishes, but we tend to eat foreign food. I think it could be all because maybe that's one positive of the empire, lots of negatives, but the fact that British went across the world doing stuff, and now it's coming the other direction. People from all over the world. If you go to London, it's a very cosmopolitan city and mostly welcoming. Yeah, in spite of Brexit or anything else, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that. I mean, I guess London is still an open city, isn't it? It's still very welcoming to foreigners from everybody, really. I don't think it's changed London at all. Maybe it's possibly become a bit more welcoming because people, want to give that impression and they want people to come to London. And I'm sure if you have been to London, then you probably would experience that and feel part of it, I would hope. I think with the food side of things, I'm wondering what you think about this. But there's always this cliche that British food is not very good, and I would say, particularly over the last 20 or 30 years, the food culture's improved a lot, hasn't it? And I would say perhaps with British food, I always say to students, if you actually want to go and eat British food, I would suggest going to a gastropub. So that's a pub that has food, but it's kind of part of their speciality, isn't it? And they often do some nice beers as well. Yeah, because I guess an English restaurant isn't really a thing.
Sure. And even if you don't like British food, there's no reason not to like it. But London's still a great place to eat, and most UK places as well, because it's huge amount of international cuisine as well, so it's great for foodies. Yeah. So and I think it's also part of the sort of welcoming and curiosity that you get. I'm sure that's true of other cultures too, but you notice that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we're very open to, as you say, different foods in particular, aren't we? And I think for us culturally, that's important, isn't it? It's an element of variety. I think people like variety typically. So
I think so. I think you get that sort of curiosity in British culture. Yeah, that's maybe led us abroad to explore different lands in the first place.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But maybe because geographically, Britain is like in the Atlantic. Pointing westwards. It's an island, so it's sort of isolated. So it needs to know what's happening beyond the seas.
Yeah, I think that's true, isn't it? And I guess obviously in the shipping age, I suppose it was very important for Britain to develop trade by sea or kind of explore, wasn't it? Simply because of being an island, otherwise we had, just quite a small land, I guess, in comparison to a lot of other countries. So, yeah. Okay, so that's number one. What about number two?
Positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know if it's a cultural thing. I'll tell you something I like is street furniture.
Okay, that's a curious one.
I always really like it when I go back to Britain, to London, and you see the red post boxes and the red telephone boxes that no one uses anymore. They're converted to, I don't know, whatever, sushi bars, cafes. It was like
I've not seen a telephone box as a sushi bar recently.
No, you'd be surprised what they convert them to.
Yeah.
And some of them. There's one near King's Cross, actually, if you've seen it, which has been converted back to how it was in the 1950s with an old telephone box and with all the telephone books.
Oh, wow.
But the thing is, you can't go in. It's
locked.
locked.
It's locked.
You can look through. It's like a little museum of how a telephone used to be. But I like that, and also like the red buses, the red telephone boxes, and the red letter boxes. I like all that street furniture. Really makes me feel at home.
Yeah,
I don't feel it in other places as much. I'm in Paris. I love Paris, but I don't miss the street. I can't even think what it is. Street furniture. A letterbox in Paris? Is that yellow thing that you use sometimes?
Yeah.
Or, I don't know.
It's not as distinctive, is it?
And there aren't any phone boxes anymore.
No.
They got rid of them. They were nondescript and they just disappeared.
Yeah. I actually like it with the red telephone boxes when they often have a book exchange inside. So
oh, yeah.
I think that's a nice use of them.
True.
You can open them up, grab a book, put your book in there if you want to. I think that's a nice thing to do.
In fact, they have everything except telephones.
Yes, that's true.
That's the irony.
That's true, yes. Yeah, nowadays they don't have that, do they? So, but yeah, I think they are definitely part of the landscape, and I'm sure, particularly in London, you notice those elements, don't you? And I think a lot of telephone boxes are kind of kept in London, aren't they? I think probably for tourist reasons, right? Tourism.
Yeah, I think local like them too, but yes.
Yeah. I think, invariably outside of London, you're less likely to get red telephone boxes, aren't you? Really?
Yeah.
So
does that count as a cultural thing?
I'm going to go with yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Why not? Okay. It's kind of a cultural thing, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, and so number three.
Which is kind of strange, my answer, because I don't drink much alcohol anymore. I'm not completely teetotal, but I don't drink much alcohol. But I like pubs. Still, kind of some pubs, not all of them.
Okay, sure.
None that have like big screens and
the rugby
fruit machines. Well, if you want to see a rugby, that's fine. But if you're just going in there and they have like screens in the background, playing some nondescript thing, but like traditional pubs. I want to like a fire, and sometimes these days you can get like good food in some pubs, not all of them. Gastropubs you mentioned earlier.
Gastropubs, yeah.
And they're still a really like nice, comfortable environment. Occasionally, I might have a beer. Occasionally, rarely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, Amy mentioned pubs. I think pubs are very much part of our culture, aren't they? And it's kind of, if you go to a good pub, it's very homely, isn't it?
Yeah.
It feels very cozy.
Yeah.
And I guess the idea of you talking about the fireplace, particularly in the winter or when it's colder, it's very nice feeling being in there, isn't it? The kind of coziness, the being out, kind of inside, sheltering from the elements. I think those are nice things. And especially if they do a good range of beers, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's probably quite distinctive to the UK, isn't it? Having kind of ales and stouts and IPAs, things like that. That's quite unique, isn't it? And I think that's a very nice thing, even if you don't drink beer.
I do, but very rarely.
Very rarely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will at special occasions.
Yeah.
I'm that's out in Catholic, but
yeah.
not much.
But yeah, I mean, I guess you like the space, right? You like the atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So yeah, is that all?
That's
all
3.
Positives? That's 3.
Well, I'd probably work out some more, but 3. That's a good start.
It's a good start. Yeah. I'm sure.
Did I leave anything out?
I don't think so.
Is that it?
I think there's only 3.
Okay.
No, well, I guess there are many more potentially, but yeah, I thought we'd stick to 3.
I was going to say something like a British sense of humour. I think every country has a sense of humour.
Mm-hmm.
I quite like that. You sometimes get type of joke. Sometimes you when you meet an English person, you can say a joke, which I know you're going to understand, and you're going to laugh heartily at my joke because it's very funny.
Yeah.
But I might use it here, and people, fall down
Blank
like
expression.
a lead balloon.
Yeah.
Even though it's really funny, they don't get my joke. But I don't have that problem in the UK. All my jokes are funny.
Yes, I'm not sure about that, but yes.
And yeah, so
well,
like that. So the English sense of humour, not mine particularly, but I mean the you see on that's good TV shows.
Yeah, I mean it's something that's very part of our culture, isn't it? Comedy. I think we enjoy laughing at ourselves.
Yeah.
Having fun in general.
I think I noticed a difference in France. Is like here, the comedy is a bit more hard. In UK, comedy is a bit more hard hitting.
Mm-hmm.
They're prepared to be very, very self-deprecating, and it is tougher. Often, there are exceptions than American humour sometimes. So I like that.
Yeah. So
you to laugh at ourselves.
Yeah, self-deprecation is a good one, isn't it? Yeah. So that you give them 4, but that's okay.
That's 4. I'm giving you 4.
You're giving me 4, yes, but I'm happy with that.
You're only paying me for 3.
I know. I got a bonus. What can I say? I got an extra one for free.
I might put that on my invoice.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not sure if I'll pay you for it. But yes, put it on there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to come on to the 3 negatives now. What do you think? I mean, don't be too negative.
I've got one thing I am very negative about. You might not like it. You may disagree.
Okay.
The royal family.
The royal family.
I don't see the point of it. Why in God's name have we got? Maybe that's the odds in God's name, but ironically. But why have we got in the 21st century a royal family?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Okay.
I don't see we need it. It's a waste of space. And I'm not against some individuals. I'm sort of lovely people, whatever. King Charles, is it? And those other people, but really, not interested.
It's curious though. It's curious though. I mean, how popular do you think your viewpoint is? Because I often get from students that they think, the impression is that we really love our royal family, right?
I got when the Queen died. I mentioned that in one of my videos. I got condolences, even though I'm a Republican.
Yeah.
I got from old students because they know I'm British. I got like text messages of condolences, and things like that. He says, like, "Sorry for your loss."
But
I'm so traumatized. A 96-year-old woman that I never met before passed away. Of course, I'm not going to actually. I'm not a bad person. But the jury's out on that. But why do we need royal family? Why?
Yeah, no,
don't want it. I'm not interested.
No, it's a curious one, isn't it?
Really
yeah. I would say I'm probably quite indifferent. I'd be happy for them to stay. I'm happy for them to not be there at the same time. But I don't know. My feeling is potentially they have a role diplomatically.
Really?
Well, in theory, they're not supposed to be political, right? So that can come in useful sometimes.
I can't think of it.
No,
I don't know.
But
I would say, if you could agree with me on this, that about 1/3 of people in Britain are fervent royalists. About 1/3 are fervent Republicans.
Would you say fervent? Really? That strong?
Me?
But I mean fervent Republicans, would you say?
Yeah, I would.
Okay, yeah.
And about 1/3 just don't care.
I'm in that one.
Yeah. Believe me, a lot of people don't care. And you get, if you live in France, people assume that everyone is pro-royal family. Maybe British, I love the royal family. No, I'm not. Like a lot. And if you see the statistics of like opinion polls, about 20% of young people, like 16 to 24, support the royal family in Britain. So people above the age of 65, they're all, well, a lot of them are royalists. But no, we don't. If you agree with them or not, no, it's not true that we all love the royal family.
No.
It's 21st century, come on.
Sure, and I guess younger people, as you say, are more likely to not support them, aren't they? Or think that they're a bit irrelevant, which I can understand.
More likely to vomit when there's some sort of TV program about the royals that goes on for hours.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like it when they go on for hours. I really don't.
You keep that one in.
Okay, yes. Let's see. Okay, well, okay, so that's number one, the royal family. So what's your second one?
Is the power, I'm getting political here again, but like the power of the media.
Okay, yeah.
And I had something really interesting, because I say I live in France, we're in France now. You know, I'm in France, and now we're in Paris. John's in Paris at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
That the fourth power in France, because you have the executive, the president, you have the legislative, the parliament, and you have the judiciary. So those are the three powers, the separation of powers. But the fourth power in France is the street, which is kind of in a way, a sort of positive side to that. People, even though I don't always agree often what they're demonstrating, that people will go out and be in the street and they'll demonstrate and whatever they disagree with. But the fourth power in Britain is the media. And the media can really, really change things. It can decide who's influence greatly public opinion, which greatly influence who is the prime minister, who is who wins the election, what is happening here and there, and change government policy because of some newspaper editors, decisions by newspaper editors. That I really don't. You agree? Do you agree with me?
Yeah, very much so. I suppose it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you probably agree with me on the idea that our media is, in terms of newspapers, is usually on the right, isn't it? And there's one gentleman in particular that has a lot of influence on the right.
And like a huge influence. There was Brexit, and a lot of not to mention like other elections. But if it weren't for the influence of certain media, certain newspapers, if you agree with it or not, but even I think that those who won would agree with this, that they won it because of the influence of the media. They pushed public opinion to the slant that they wanted.
Yeah,
and that's a really negative thing.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one, isn't it? Because the media is a bit of a double-edged sword. I think certainly over the last 20 or 30 years, you could argue, certainly in newspapers, it's got more influence than it perhaps should. And yeah, arguably, there probably needs to be a bit of a change to make it a bit more balanced. I think, with newspaper media. I think maybe it's a bit better with TV. Maybe.
Well, there are rules. I mean, with TV, there are rules. You have to have a balance. Maybe that might get slightly broken, but people complain. But there's meant to be an equal amount of cover from both. Well, I say both sides. There's several sides, and more or less true. But that's not true with media, not true with newspapers, online newspapers, or anything like that. That's not true. They can push whatever agenda they have, and they do, and they make a great deal of have a great deal of like negative influence.
Yeah, potentially, but also investigative journalism can be.
It exists, certainly. Yeah, certainly.
It can be very beneficial, can't it? Investigative.
Oh, I'm not saying it's great journalists. I'm sure. I'm not saying there are great journalists everywhere, but when the certain people in the media, what it is, Australian guy, sits down and decides who they want to win the election, they usually get their way.
Yes, that's very
the
true.
way that then, in 1997, the only way that the Labour government won was they decided to go and discuss what they would do if they won, and how would they, and they supported the Labour Party, and they won.
Yeah,
they never won. Usually, the Conservative won the other elections because they're supported by the media.
Yeah, no, that's very true, isn't it?
So they have huge influence. I think that's very.
Yeah. No, well, certainly with newspapers, yes, that is an issue, definitely. But that obviously doesn't mean to say that we don't have good journalism. I mean, there are
certainly,
good journalists out there.
Yeah, and we have a free press, but it doesn't mean that they all share in this freedom. There is a free. So if you can write whatever you want, you're not going to go to prison for it, that's a very positive thing.
Yeah,
in some countries, they put journalists in prison. At the same time, maybe the influence is too great.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's too free. It's not too free, but we just need to be careful about what we believe and what we don't believe.
Yeah, and I've sometimes come across people talking about the BBC, and for the most part, it's pretty balanced, isn't it? I mean, people say they're biased in some way. I think possibly if they do have a bias, it's probably to the left, isn't it?
No, I don't agree.
No? Okay.
I would say I have no problem with the BBC. Everyone does. But the reason why I think the BBC is okay is because it's attacked by the left for being too right-wing, and it's attacked by the right for being too left-wing.
Yeah.
And when that's happening, you think, oh, well, maybe that's an indication that there's some fairness.
Yeah.
Everyone sees something that they don't like in it. So I don't have a problem with the BBC. It's independent of the government. It has an independent charter. So people mistakenly believe that it is a government organisation, which it isn't. It isn't. Some countries it's owned by. No, it has an independent charter, and it's always at loggerheads, often at loggerheads with the government. The government don't like what they're doing. The BBC. Because they do have this independence. So I don't have problems with BBC, no.
Yeah, and I think problems with newspapers really, or
they're not covered by the sort of neutrality.
No, but I think that's an important point, though. You saying that if they're kind of upsetting the left and upsetting the right, then potentially they're doing their job.
Yeah,
aren't they?
Yeah.
So I guess that's probably the aim of the BBC, isn't it? To upset both sides in some way. Yeah,
I mean, even things that we go back to the royal family. There was the interview with Prince Andrew, which perhaps he shouldn't have done because the interview was dug very deeply, asked some very
personal questions.
Yeah, exactly. So, if the BBC had been controlled by the government, they wouldn't have let them do that, but they're not. They do have this independence. A lot of people disagree with that, but I think you can see that's true.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so that's two. You've got one more.
Yeah, well, more of a less political one here. But one of the things I don't like is also one of the things that I do like, and that is pubs.
So you don't like pubs?
No, I like pubs.
But you don't like them in certain ways?
I don't like the way there's a lot. I don't know if it's changed because I don't go to pubs very often now. But there used to be, especially around 11 o'clock, some pubs, like a lot of aggression.
Okay, yeah.
Because there's a certain culture which is maybe part of my answer, that the pubs, I think it's less true, but still people do it. They want to finish all their drinks by about 11 o'clock. And so they'll drink heavily for a short period of time. And then come 11 o'clock, there's quite a lot of aggression.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I don't like it. not everywhere every time. I should say. Don't worry about it. You still go to pubs.
Yes.
Still go to pubs, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, definitely. I suppose that in London it very rarely happens, does it? But
I don't know.
Really? Okay.
Well, maybe not. I say I don't live in London now, but
sure. I mean, I think at least with my experience, I haven't really encountered any real aggression. But I think it's partly in London. It's because they have a very good system in terms of people on the door, so security, bouncers on the door. I think they have a good system for that.
Yeah.
Whether that's true everywhere in the country, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I'm from the Midlands, and certain pubs in the Midlands would definitely be more prone to aggression, I would say. More so than London in my experience, but yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure, especially, I mean, if I go back to the part of London where my mother lives, I stay there, near there sometimes, and once recently, a while ago, I was walking quite late at night on this high street, somewhere in North London, and outside the pub, it was about 11 o'clock. Outside the pub, there was a woman. She was wearing short skirt, and she was wearing, I don't know why, it was like a fur coat, and she looked kind of strange. She was wearing a fur coat. I kind of glanced in her direction, and she was drunk, and she caught me. Goes, "What are you looking at, you cunt?" You might have to bleep that out. And I thought, really? Did you really need to say that? I wasn't looking in an aggressive way. I was just maybe glancing over there. Yeah. And she did look kind of strange. But she came back with this aggressiveness. Yeah. And I've seen that quite a lot. Guys, in Soho I saw like 2 fights starting simultaneously.
Really?
After a pub was closing, right in front of me, there was 2 guys fighting there, and then independently, there was another fight starting there. Oh my God. I didn't know which one to stop, so I just walked on.
Okay. But maybe you just distract.
Maybe.
I don't know. Well, but also, is it a generational thing? Is it something that you've seen when you were a lot younger?
Well, I don't live in London now, so obviously I see it less often, and I don't go to pubs as true as I used to go very frequently. So that's partly things have changed, but that's something I didn't like, that aggressiveness.
No, fair enough. I can understand that.
So I love pubs, but there were elements
that you don't like. Yeah. But really, I mean, the pubs for the most part are fine, aren't they? Really, So
I don't like big screens.
Don't like big screens.
I don't know when there's nothing on. When there's a football match or a rugby match, everyone wants to see the football match. Rugby, it's fair enough. We put it on, we watch it. But when it's just there's in the background
like music
sports, there's no one watching. I can't stay there. Yeah. Why are you doing this though? You just have to have screens on all the time.
No, well, I agree. I mean, I think one of those things, it's a bit unnecessary, isn't it, to have that? And I mean, I love watching sport in a pub because I think it's a good atmosphere.
Yeah, it's okay to go into pub. Yeah, me too. I like to a good game of tiddlywinks, whatever.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's frequently popular in the UK. So, yeah, that's true. That's true. It's one of your favourite sports as well.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that and elephant polo, yeah.
Indeed, yeah, that's another popular game. So, yeah. Thank you. And they didn't make it on the list, which was surprising. But Tiddlywinks and elephant polo.
No.
So if you haven't heard of those, it's fine, because neither have I. So maybe Tiddlywinks, but yeah. So. But thank you for joining.
You're welcome.
As Gideon, that was very kind of you to do that. And hopefully people have a better insight of at least what Gideon's viewpoints are.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with quite a lot of what you're saying, and and we'll see you soon. Thanks for joining us.